Hello, everyone, and thank you for dropping into this edition of Walking the Ropes. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Blake. We have an awesome show for you today. We'll be covering the news over the last few days, as well as last night's SmackDown. And then we'll be discussing our favorite and least favorite bits from last night and your Twitter polls as well.
Yeah, and before we get going with that, just want to remind everybody if you want to find anything related to Walking the Ropes, you can do so through our link tree, which is in the descriptions basically everywhere that we're at. Um, our Twitch, our Twitter, all anywhere that you can find our podcast, you can find our link tree. And along with that, speaking about places you can find our podcast, we have been approved on Apple as well as Stitcher. So you can find us on there now. That is all through our link tree. You can find every platform we're available to listen to. As well as I think I'd previously mentioned it about the Amazon Echoes. But if you have a Google Home or an Amazon Echo, you can actually ask them to play Walking the Ropes with Blake and Caleb, and you will get the most recent episodes. Um, Coming right out of your smart speaker, so that's an exciting
Yeah,
thing.
we'll be in every corner of your house.
You can't get away. So with that being said, we'll get into some of our recent news here. We won't run too long today. I've got some personal commitments I've got to take care of, so we'll be around about the hour and 20-minute mark for the cast today. So not too much rambling.
Yeah. No, for sure.
As for news, the very first thing I got, Steve Cutler, who was a member of the Forgotten Sons and later on, part of Corbin's group. I don't remember the name. The
One of
Knights,
the nights.
the Knights of the Lone Wolf or some stuff like that. He was released, from his contract. Apparently it's stemming from him and, I take it him and Deonna Purrazzo are together from
Yeah.
what I
From what
understand.
from
Uh,
what I read, they are in a relationship.
yeah,
She has defended him as well.
Yeah, apparently they had a party on New Year's, and they both ended up catching COVID and whatnot. Apparently, one of the big things that I was reading was Vince was really pissed off, which is pretty much what led to the firing, because he's promised people such as like Roman Reigns and that, specifically saying Roman because of the pre-existing health issues and family and whatnot, that it's a safe environment.
Yeah.
And then you got people doing stuff like that, which I mean, I don't know, I don't personally agree with, but I'm not gonna say much.
I know Perazzo came to the defense of Cutler, saying that, well, everyone else was also doing it, so why should they be looked at differently? And I get where she's coming from, but nobody should have been partying on New
Yeah,
Year's.
you can't use the excuse of everybody else was doing it, so we could do it. Just because everybody else, it goes back to being a kid. If everybody else was jumping off a bridge, would you do it?
Yeah,
You
like
know,
like I said, I see where she's coming from in the sense that, she shouldn't be looked at different just because she is like in a better light than say you or me.
yep,
But um that's neither here nor there. I didn't go out on New Year's, and
nope,
I know most people in my inner circle, I guess you could say, did not.
yep.
Um,
Nobody that I'm close with went out, and the thing is saying not to stick on it for too long, but her saying just because like I'm, a person that people know that I shouldn't be
well,
judged
she didn't
differently.
say that specifically, but just that's what I understood from her tweet saying like
Well,
everybody else was doing it.
yeah, well the thing is I pointed out, I've pointed it out before. You are in that light.
Yes.
So like you saying you shouldn't be judged differently, you should already know you are going to be. You're in the people's eye, so when you do this stuff, be prepared. Don't do this stuff thinking you're coming out of it, repercussion free or something like that. That is, when you're in that kind of spot, when you are somebody on TV, people know who you are, and then you try and make a defense. Sorry, you know who you are. You know
Yeah.
people know you. You know you're in the eye, you know, of everything. Be smarter about it.
Exactly. It was like Sasha Banks a few years back with the airport incidents, but
Yeah, the comments about fans in airports and that. Like you
yeah,
know. You know,
exactly.
don't act like you don't, Sure, you shouldn't be treated differently from a normal person, but you have to understand you're going to be.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
it doesn't take a brainiac to figure that out.
Well,
But
especially when you become a figurehead for a company such as Impact
exactly.
Wrestling.
You're their world champion in the women's, the knockouts division. Like, think about it. Think about it. You're
Exactly.
not somebody on Explosion or AEW Dark or something like that where, people might know you, people might not.
Is
You
Explosion
are
still a thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's still a thing apparently. I found out this
okay.
week. But yeah, so anyways, he was released, but apparently there is a potential return down the line from what I was reading. Apparently that heat does not leave off any bad blood.
Oh, so like he didn't
So
like leave storming, screaming, saying this is bullshit and whatever.
yeah, I guess.
Well,
So
that's good. At least he was a consummate professional, I think is how you
I
put it.
believe so. I believe so. What you got? What you got?
Um, well, it was announced kind of on SmackDown. Sasha Banks will be the honorary starter for the Daytona 500.
Yep.
I believe this week.
Next weekend, I
Yeah.
want to say.
But that's really cool. The fact that NASCAR's allowing a wrestler to start probably their biggest race.
Yeah, I know they've had them drive like the pace cars and do that for other races, but I can't say I ever remember it being announced for the Daytona, which is, whether you're a NASCAR fan or not, everybody generally knows about the Daytona 500.
Well,
Uh,
even F1 fans say, "What are you going to race in the Daytona 500 or something?" Because that's
yeah,
the only race they know
exactly.
because
Everybody
it's the most
knows of the
popular one.
Yeah, everybody knows of Daytona. So,
Yeah,
it's yeah, that was kind of neat.
yeah, it was very cool to see.
I have on here, it was announced, I know yesterday, the natural Butch Reed passed away at the age of 66. So condolences out to his family. I
Yeah.
had read a thing actually that was posted. Apparently, Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, was contacted by a member of his family, um, and was told that apparently Butch was a big, big fan
Oh,
of
wow.
Powerhouse Hobbs, and he looks at him as the new Hacksaw, and whatnot, and that he never actually got to tell Will Hobbs that in person. So that was a really neat thing.
Well, that's really cool.
So, but yeah, so condolences out to his family.
Yeah,
Legacy left there. Uh, yeah.
absolutely.
What else you got?
As we had mentioned previously, there was rumblings that Parker Bordeaux, however you want to say it, has signed a developmental deal. Well, Pro Wrestling Observer has further reported that this deal has gone through. He has signed a deal.
Yeah.
Uh, no idea on when his debut will be, but if Vince can have a say, I imagine next week.
Well, the thing is, if he's got zero pro wrestling background, we need to
Yeah,
make sure he trains a bit.
a little
Uh,
bit.
but yeah, and I mean he's furthered this speculation with tweets and that. I know Matt Riddle posted a tweet saying how he looks just like Lesnar, but
Yeah.
he doesn't hate him as much as Lesnar does to turn down a
Yeah.
match or anything, and I know he's tweeted about that. So,
Yeah, and
uh
his we mentioned on the last podcast as well, his football team has dropped him from their roster, which is a pretty big sign that he's not playing football at the very least.
yeah. So,
So,
I wouldn't be surprised. I knew the second the rumor started swirling he was signing somewhere.
yeah.
It's going to be a matter of waiting to see how it all turns
I
out.
hope he has a good career because I wanna see a good big guy again because we don't have a guy right now really that I can point at and say, "I could see you coming in and just beating anybody," besides maybe a Lance Archer, but there's nobody young, really.
Yeah. Yeah, there really isn't. Well, here's a fun fact for you. There was only, I don't even remember who exactly it was, so
I
don't
might
hold
know
me
once you
to
tell
it.
me.
But there was only two people in, I believe it was the men's rumble. that were under the age of 30.
One of them was Otis. The other one
Dominic.
is Dominic. Was Dominic? Yeah.
There was only two under the age. Now that's not to say that like the whole roster is that old. I mean, we got
No.
NXT and we got people there and we've got more on the main
Yeah.
roster there.
And I don't
But
think that was including the women's either.
yeah, yeah, because I'm not entirely sure there, but
Yeah, I think the women's was like all there was a lot of NXT girls and they're in their 20s. I don't think hardly any of them are in their 30s.
yeah, exactly. So
So,
but as for the male end of it, that was kind of like a wow, okay.
yeah.
Um yeah,
But it's all like like not up and coming, but big guys. Like it wasn't even like they were old. Like,
exactly. Yeah, to say 30 is old in wrestling is laughable. I mean,
but I mean, 50 is retirement usually in wrestling. Like
well, nowadays
40
it doesn't
even.
seem to be.
No, but it can be, I
it,
guess you can
it
say.
it widely regarded. Once you're in your 50s, you're definitely slowing down.
Yeah, you
Uh
start to wind down your career. You're not going for world titles anymore. You might be in a mid card or a tag title picture, but
yeah, unless you're, Goldberg or
okay, but his career is over. It's just they're giving him these, "Oh, by the way, here's this little story for the end of your career." Like,
oh jeez. Well, to go from talking about somebody like Goldberg to an actual good pro wrestler, uh I'm going to get some heat for that one. Uh
no, well, maybe.
Cesaro has reportedly agreed to new terms for a contract, from what I've heard. Apparently, he was supposed to be in the Nakamura position in the gauntlet match, but because he hadn't agreed to a new contract or anything yet, Nakamura was put in his position.
Yeah.
So here's hoping that Cesaro gets something.
Yeah. Now,
It's been too freaking long and he's too much of a talent, not only in the ring, but he's got a decent mic skill to not put him in a more prominent position.
right. My one thing I want to say is the thing I liked about this piece of news was that it says it wasn't confirmed whether he had signed it or if it was verbally agreed.
Yeah.
Because I would rather him go to AEW
Oh,
or
100%.
Impact. Like as much as that makes me sound like an AEW mark or whatever you want to call me, he would be used so much better under somebody with a different management, even in Impact or New Japan. Like I just don't want to see him under WWE's banner anymore. They
Well,
they have they have had the time to use him and they didn't.
let's point out Miro, for example, really quick, not to hang up too long on here, but
Yeah.
like you can say what you want about his AEW run so far, but I've enjoyed it almost more than 90% of his WWE run, and this has been a hell of a lot shorter
I was gonna
than his
say, and his run
WWE
is
run.
far from over, and he's going to have at least the TNT title, if not the tag titles, with Kip at some point.
Like, you've got to remember, like, they've brought him in to be this best man gimmick. The wedding's done now, so even though we've gotten some really good showings from him, now that that whole buildup is done and basically over with, you
Mhm.
realize now we're gonna get just Miro running through people. So
Well,
put Claudio in that perspective, Cesaro,
yeah,
and
for those who don't know,
think of what we could get bringing him in, and we know him and Cody are good friends. Like we know stuff
Jericho's
like that.
mentioned that he wants him in AEW.
Like who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Yeah,
You have a
uh,
guy with his skill and technical ability. Why wouldn't you?
exactly. It makes no sense to not want him there.
Put him put him
Um,
in put him in AEW and shoot him up into the main event picture. Let Kenny have his run and then give Claudio a world title that he finally deserves at some point. I'm obviously not saying like 3 months from now, but
but
I
have
would
him
not.
be the one that appears and dethrones Kenny.
Why not make him an
Yeah,
absolute
like
monster of a wrestler? The thing is I could believe it too.
oh yeah. And the
I
thing
like
The
you.
real thing would be, if AEW played it real smart and did what they did, say, with Hager, sign him and then not have him appear for 5, 6 months, and just be like, "Oh, by the way, remember how he was a free agent? Yeah, we took him."
Well, that's just it. I mean, I'd love to see Kenny with a good lengthy run, and I'd have no issue if we're on the heels of it and he turns around and goes like, I've beaten just about everybody. Like, there's nobody left. Like, I know I'm the best in the world, and here comes, he'll probably start going by Claudio again on the
Yeah, and you
on
hear, instead of the air raid siren, it's the nuke siren.
Yeah, and here he is, and he comes out, and I mean, the thing is, the match would be six stars easily, between those
Oh, yeah.
two, and let him take it off Kenny in his first match, and because he is one of, like, that's the worst part, is so many people don't understand, like, watching him on WWE, how good he is. Like, there's so many guys on WWE programming that you watch and you're like, they're okay. Go and watch some of their
Yeah.
stuff from before, when they were actually given the opportunity. Go and watch Cesaro's ROH stuff. Go, like,
Yeah.
if you think Daniel Bryan in his entire run is even remotely good in WWE, go watch Bryan Danielson in ROH, and I guarantee you will be even a bigger fan.
Yeah, or Kevin Steen for that instance, or
Kevin Steen and
Adam Cole, like
Adam Cole, El Generico, aka
yeah,
Sami Zayn. You want to see one of the best
yeah,
feuds ever? Kevin Steen and El Generico, some of the best
yeah.
wrestling you've ever seen.
Well, even, War Raiders, Viking Experience? Viking
Viking Raiders,
Raiders.
I
Yeah,
think.
I think they were what were they on the independent scene?
They
War
were
Machine?
they were War Machine.
Yeah, like, there's so many more too, like, we could go on that list for probably an hour alone,
Like,
but
there's
we just don't have the time to do it.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah. AJ Styles.
Like, if you think AJ Styles' run in WWE has been good, go and watch his Impact and his New Japan stuff. It's it's amazing.
It's
Uh,
leagues better, like, that's why he is phenomenal, not by what he did in WWE.
and
He was already phenomenal
the
when
thing
he
is,
came to
his
WWE.
the stuff he's done in WWE has been so amazing. He's
Oh,
had a
yeah.
really good spot this whole time. He's had some of probably the best matches in his
It's a
career.
testament to the performer.
But yeah, exactly. So, anyways, continuing with the news. You got any more there?
No, that was actually my last point there, the one you just said.
So, I've got a few more here. Britt Baker is finally officially getting an action figure. It was announced.
Oh,
The Jeremy, I don't remember his last name, the one who I believe he's the president of Jazzware, is the one who makes the figures. He
so
pulled a
not Borash.
correct. He pulled a prank on Britt yesterday, and had put a photo up saying it was a 2-pack with her and Cody in a suit, because Cody's already gotten 2 figures, and there's been a big online thing between them all about the figures. So if you haven't
Hasn't Kenny gotten 3?
Kenny's had 3 now. Yeah. So
The Bucks are the only ones being modest.
well, they've had 2 now each.
Yeah, but they came out in the same set. There was just it was a variant, wasn't it? Like,
No, they were in set 1 and they're in set 4.
oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay, well,
Yeah. But she will be in the first series of the Unmatched, I think is what it's called. As
I
well as
haven't
she
even
will be
heard of
getting
that.
a 2-pack with the waiting room set. But it
So it
hasn't
will
been
be
announced.
Cody.
It hasn't been announced who it is. Most people are figuring it'll be somebody like Reba Rebel, whatever.
Oh,
Um,
you know what? It might be Cargill.
there's been a lot of different things tossed around as to who it will be. I know a few people wanted Marco, with the guitar and everything because of his performance on there.
Well, I mean, the one that I'm reading from Ringside quickly, it just says suited Cody, alternate hands Cody, Britt Baker entrance jacket, AEW microphones 2, waiting room cardboard cutout.
So
Is that from the joke?
that was the joke. Yes.
Okay. I
Yes.
was gonna say, because like that looks like an official release. That's why I
Well,
was like,
the guy posted it and it looked all official, and then
oh, okay.
and then he
I wasn't
posted
sure if it
later.
was just. Okay.
Yeah, he had posted later going, "We're kidding. She's getting her own figure as well as she's getting a 2-pack." But they haven't confirmed who it's with yet. Um, but
It looks
they
like Sting was also confirmed for the Unmatched series.
was he? I'm not sure there. I know it's supposed to be basically the same figures, same boxes, same everything. The only difference is the Unrivaled is following a certain path.
And that
With
it's like while behind sort of thing.
Yeah, and then the Unmatched is going to give the opportunity for, they've even said they're going to do referees, and the commentators will get figures, um all
So
that
yeah,
stuff.
similar to what WWE has done with their lesser lines, but
But gonna
um
keep the same quality through it.
yeah, exactly.
Um
Um
yeah, I have another thing which I just saw this morning. Conan has stated that he compared intergender wrestling to the likes of lucha libre, and told people to just start getting used to it. The comparison was when lucha libre first hit the scene, that people were like, "What in the hell is this? Who would find entertainment in this?" All that kind of stuff. And nowadays, everybody, even some of the biggest dudes on the rosters, do lucha libre type stuff. I mean, Lance Archer, we've already brought him up. Hit a lot, like his moveset, there's a lot of it that resembles the likes of lucha libre. Um, and so Conan comparing, and like he even stated, like intergender wrestling in Mexico has been done for years. There's a market in Mexico
yeah.
for it. It's just one of those things where it needs to break into these other markets. And when done right, it works. Similar to the likes of getting Lucha Libre over. Um, anyways, you seem like you have something you want to say.
It's just kind of that quick wrestling figure thing. The person who you meant to mention, it's Jeremy Padawer.
Okay.
Um
Yeah, I knew it started with
v-
a P. Mm.
yeah, the what he did confirm is Britt Baker getting a figure? Yes. Is Britt Baker getting two figures? Yes. Waiting room series 2-pack, unmatched series 1. Is this a troll? No. Will AEW have a deep bench of figures? Yes. Pharaoh? Yes, soon.
Yes. Yes, I saw that Pharaoh, which is Cody Rhodes' dog, for anybody who does not know. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And final one here that I figured was worth a mention. Former WWE superstar, formerly known as Tyler Rex, has announced that they are transitioning to be female. They're going by Gabby Tuft.
I think
Tuft?
that's how it's the
Tuft?
same last name, so I
Yeah.
believe it's the same way you pronounced it.
Um. So just yeah, I guess congratulations to her. I mean, that's a very big thing. Takes a lot to do something like that. So congratulations, and wish all the best going forward there.
Absolutely.
Um so with that, I think we can get into our SmackDown results.
Yeah.
I know we were talking beforehand. As for a 2-hour show, there was a lot of ups and downs from this show.
Mhm.
There was a lot, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I feel like the just to kinda not say what they were really quick, the opening segment and the ending segment could have just been put together at the end, and we'd have been fine. Um,
That's fair. I mean,
but
the opening segment, I do have I have more good things to say about the opening than the ending.
right.
Which is weird, but I do agree they could have probably been done in one segment in some way.
Yeah.
But speaking of it though, the opening segment we have Roman Reigns come out. Jey Uso is with him again. And Paul
Randomly, just
Heyman.
he's back.
Yeah, so he comes out, and basically the short of it is, obviously he calls Edge out. He wants
Mhm.
Edge to come out. He's pissed off that Edge basically even bothered uh going to Raw and going to NXT.
Yeah. The funny thing is, for somebody who said he at the start didn't like recapping, he recapped a lot during this promo.
A lot, like a ton.
Like,
Um,
so "Oh, I don't like to recap, but recapping."
yeah.
Like,
But they're told that well, Paul Heyman, I love him. He's yelling at the production team like, hit the music, hit the pyro, come on. And he
yeah,
gets told that Edge isn't there, and he tells Reigns, and this is probably my favorite part of this segment because it let in a lot going forward. Reigns lost it.
yeah,
Like, he lost it. Like, why are you playing games with me in that? And basically what this kind of tells me is that as much as Reigns, because he wants to be that main champion in the company and that, and so, having the Royal Rumble winner go after your title, means theoretically like you are kind of the main one there. Um, and it just showed that even as much as he wants that, it seems like I got the sense that there is still like intimidation there, knowing it's Edge. Like, even
mhm,
though he wants to think he's the best in the world and that, and he wanted Edge to come out, like, just those little things are kind of triggering him a little bit, knowing that
yeah,
he's never faced Edge before.
yeah,
He
and
doesn't know what he's getting into.
one thing I mentioned or I noticed during this promo, it felt similar to that one with Cena where he lost himself in it and had to kind of find himself in it again. Just in places like it wasn't a horrible point, but he would sit there and say a question, answer the question, and then kind of say another that kind of wasn't like he pointed to his shirt. He's like, "You're talking to the look at my shirt." Like he kind of forgot what he was saying.
Yeah,
And I'm like, did you forget or was that meant to look as choppy as it did? So what you're saying is very true. It seems like Edge is kind of getting in his head.
yeah. Which, I mean, it works out so well with them having never faced off in that. Like, I know the idea of him and Reigns at Mania is still a toss up even to me, but the thing
I much prefer Finn, but
is it's
yeah.
something that like and I mean, yeah, we've never seen Finn either against him, but
Never seen Drew.
I'm I believe they had one back in
We
09
never seen
2010.
current Drew, is what I
Well,
meant by that.
yes, that's fair. I get
How
that, but in
Galloway is still what he is basically at this point.
yeah,
He's not really
exactly.
McIntyre. Like,
Exactly. But it'll be interesting. But anyways, he basically says Edge has until the end of the night to give his decision for
yeah.
Mania.
Tells
Um,
him nicely.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's one of those nice things where it's like, do it.
yeah.
Like, hold a
Holding the
gun.
gun.
Like,
Yeah. Uh, and then we head into the first match of the night, which I got to admit there was a huge eye roll from me when I figured out what it was. For the third week now, we got Dominic Mysterio against King Corbin. As Dominic and Ray are coming out, though, Corbin attacks them on the stage during their entrance.
yeah.
And tosses Ray off the stage into some of the production equipment, I guess.
Yeah. And Ray hurts his knee and has to sit there during the entire match pretty much.
Yeah, up until the end, right near the end.
Yeah.
Um, but the match is going back and forth. It literally, if you've watched SmackDown the past 2 weeks, it's basically what we've gotten right up until
Yeah.
the end. And I mean, that's not a knock. Like, they've had good like their matches have been
Mhm.
good. It's just when you see the same two guys week after week after week after week, it ends up all being just really similar.
It really does, and like we said, the end is different, and I hope that if we're going to continue with Corbin and Dominic here in the future, that um having this storyline actually ends up flipping the face and heels with the way they
That
end
yeah,
things
that
here.
that wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't
Because I
Yeah.
can't remember the last time Ray was a genuine heel.
Has he ever been in WWE? I
I
can't
don't
say he's
know.
ever been while
I don't think
under the
he's
WWE
ever
banner.
been. Period.
Yeah, see, I don't know if he ever was WCW or ECW because
Oh, you know what? When he unmasked at one point, I think he was with, uh, whatever, like, LAX from the past or whatever it was.
I think it was NWO
Was it? Something
that
like
unmasked because I feel like I can remember Kevin Nash standing there, but
right.
yeah, I couldn't even tell you. But basically what we're referring to, Ray ends up crawling under the ring, which I got really confused by for a
Yeah,
second.
I thought he got pulled under by somebody, and I thought it was gonna be the Knights, but
Yeah, yeah. So and then Dom and Corbin are battling outside. Dom gets inside, and as Corbin goes to get in, Ray grabs a hold of his foot, which allows Dominic to hit the 619 to the back of Corbin's head.
yeah.
Um,
Which seems to be the way Dom's been doing his 619 lately.
yeah. So he hits the 619, hits the big splash, and picks up the win,
Yeah.
which um, I know
As far as
surprised me a
surprising
little bit.
finishes go, well, it
Kidman,
was
Eddie. Oh, okay.
oh, okay.
Yeah, see, it's been so long since I've watched that unmasking segment. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't remember who was in the ring for
I
that, but
mean,
the vision of him unmasking is vivid in my head.
oh, yeah. But I mean, that's one of those things that you watch once in a blue moon, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, thanks for that.
but
That's
yeah,
actually
thanks for
really,
that.
really
I
nice.
did not realize. Um, but yeah, so continuing with the results, we get a short little interview with Big E regarding the match later on in that, and we just get the general Big E antics,
Yeah.
which I have
I
no
mean, wait,
issue with.
like, yeah, he's
Uh,
just such a lovable guy.
oh,
Like,
I love Big E. And then we get Daniel Bryan against Cesaro. I mean, we were talking about them earlier and about how good they are. You know, you put them together. And I mean,
yeah,
for as long as they had, they did really well.
I wasn't a fan of the finish.
The finish was definitely interesting. And during the match we had Shinsuke watching on, which I'm kind of wondering where we're going with this.
Properly watching on a TV as well.
Yes, which I was surprised about. As well as I had to rewind and watch because I noticed Cesaro got busted at some point. And I can
Yes.
only pinpoint it to when Brian dove from the top rope to the outside because before that, there was never any contact with his head that could have busted him. And that was the first move. And the second he got back in the ring, he was bleeding. So I can only assume Brian caught him with the point of the elbow or something on the dive.
The announcers actually said that was a scratch from the Rumble.
Was it?
That reopened. So at some point during the Rumble, Cesaro got cut.
I don't remember there being any
Maybe as
blood.
he got dumped out, he hit his head or something.
Yeah. Well, the thing
Um,
is more than likely that dive is where it reopened anyways. Because, like I said,
exactly.
there was no point that I could pinpoint besides that.
Yeah, for sure. I just wasn't sure if you knew
No,
or heard the
I hadn't
commentary
heard
say.
that.
Yeah, whether that was just them covering for the spot or not.
Yeah,
But
because
you can go back and check though is the issue.
I'll have to
Like,
pull up the network and see if there was a cut on Cesaro at all.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Cesaro gets the win. Which you were talking about the finish. I'll let you.
So it's the swing, and as we're doing the swing, we can see Brian is reaching for his back, and I think even Cesaro notices that because he flips it into the sharpshooter, and then Brian taps out.
Yeah.
But and that's literally it. There was nothing special about the sharpshooter or anything about that. It was a standard sharpshooter, but Brian tapped, and I can't remember the last time Brian tapped out.
Off the top of my head, I mean I'm sure it wasn't as long ago, but it definitely felt weird. I mean,
I
uh
feel like I can see him in a crossface, being tapped out by like the Miz in like NXT, but
something
other
like
than
that.
that,
Yeah. It was I mean, congrats to Cesaro though. I mean, that's a big
mhm.
win.
I just didn't expect it to
Um
be a submission.
yeah. It was.
And maybe it's because we don't see submissions much anymore, that when we do, it's really noticeable.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
all honesty, 90% of what we've reviewed has been pinfall finishes or DQs.
Yep. Oh yeah,
And
exactly.
and I
So an
think this
actual
might
clean
be
submission finish is
yeah,
kind of odd.
this might be the only second submission that's been clean that we've reviewed, I think.
Yeah, there's a good chance. Um, yeah, and then we move on. We get an interview with Bianca Belair, and I was really annoyed with, I believe it was Kayla Braxton who interviewed her, because they keep mentioning only the Raw and SmackDown titles, and
Yeah,
they were doing it into the main event segment in that, um until Edge actually mentioned NXT. I'm like, why are we trying to pass over the fact that, we know you guys can go for NXT, like, let's stop pretending they're not there.
yeah. Maybe because the NXT women's title seems to be so solidified, they don't want any hint that that's going to be changed at all, but I don't know.
Yeah, but even talking about Edge, they
Yeah.
were only mentioning the two. I mean, he was literally just on NXT. Like, why are we acting like
No,
that didn't
exactly. And I
happen?
mean, there was a point even later on that we'll get to when we get a cool return um where they talk about it, but
Yeah, but anyways, and then we go into Bailey against Ruby Riott with Liv Morgan at ringside and Billie Kay on commentary. Um, and Corey Graves just keeps egging Billy on and on through the match. Um, and I mean, we have a really decent showing from Bailey and Ruby. Um, ooh, okay.
hey, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
I just all of a sudden got kind of booted from your little, like, I couldn't hear you anymore. So I apologize for that.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it seems like the stream is having issues, but that's okay because we're recording and this will be posted after. So,
So did we
um,
go down? Because it says starting on your
yep. It seems like we went down, but the thing is, the recording's still going, so we'll just keep going
yeah,
and
for sure.
hope that things go well. Um, and I'll have to look into that later. Anyways, so good showing between Bailey and Ruby Riott. And at the end there, I know Bailey was targeting Ruby's shoulder, the surgically
Yes.
repaired shoulder, and Billie Kay tried to assist, pushing.
Oh, we just came back.
Awesome. Uh, Billie Kay tried to assist by pushing the ropes, and that Liv Morgan got
Hmm.
pissed off, I guess.
Hmm.
And
Well, they're not fans of Billy right now because she has cost them matches over the last
yeah,
couple weeks.
and then Ruby lost, and I got a kick out of it because they then proceeded to blame Billie Kay for Ruby losing, and I'm like, Billie Kay's involvement had no change of the outcome of the match.
She didn't affect the pin unless Billy getting up on the apron was the reason Bailey let go of the submission, and thus the reason Ruby got the roll up, and thus the reason, you know, Bailey got out. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I don't know. I
there's
thought
a
it
lot
was.
of reaching to say Billy cost her the match.
Yeah, exactly. But Bailey won. And as Bailey's going to leave, Billie Kay runs over, tries to hand off her headshot, and we cut to Bianca walking through Tropicana towards gorilla position.
Yeah,
Um,
seems to be like from where the lockers are
yeah,
area. So,
yeah. Um,
which defense to Cesaro, actually, that does seem like a far run. He might not have been able to get to Shinsuke a few weeks back when that was happening.
yeah, that's really fair. Like that's
Just thought of that.
yeah, no, perfectly fair. Um, But we come back from commercial, and Bianca comes out talking about winning the Rumble, and then here comes Reginald for whatever reason. Um,
Yeah, which it's really odd because Carmella comes out right after, which why didn't they just come out together?
but she seems annoyed with him, like he almost
Well,
took it
even
upon
the
himself.
even the announcers, they're like, "Hey, he seems to have jumped the gun."
Yeah.
Like,
And he's basically just saying that Bianca can't beat Sasha. And then when he tries to say Asuka, he butchers it. Oxka, if you
yeah.
noticed. Um
I think it's
and
because he's trying to have the semi-French accent, but
yeah.
it doesn't.
Sasha comes out and is kind of praising Bianca a little bit, and we get another
Yeah,
name botch. She says Otis when she
she
means
did say that, yeah.
it was things that I noticed.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
come
it's like
on,
me with the
guys.
side plates, I always notice it. Like, Big E had his side plates later on in the show, finally.
Okay.
So,
Um, but the segment just felt really weird, and we ended up getting Bianca whipping Reginald with her hair, and the segment just kind of ended with no decision made.
yeah, because she was specific. She's going to make her decision soon, which would mean she's making it tonight.
Yeah, and
Because,
then
yeah.
I don't know. Sasha came out and, like I said, sung her praises. Carmella just kind of stood there. The segment just kind of honestly sucked. I sat there and I had no interest in any of it
It was a mess, is what it
because
was.
I don't understand what they were trying to do with it. What were they trying to push further with it? Like it
It
didn't make
just,
anybody
yeah.
look stronger. It didn't make me excited for Bianca's decision at all. It
Yeah. If anything, it made me think we're gonna have a Fastlane triple threat match between these three, which why? Bianca's got a match at WrestleMania.
which from the sounds of it, apparently we're getting Chamber first now. They've changed it because they're advertising for Chamber and not Fastlane now.
So, or maybe they're just not doing Fastlane, period.
Uh, I don't know. Let me give a double check here. Fastlane Sunday, March 21st. So they've
Wow.
moved it.
Why? It's always Chamber before Mania. And it's nice because that's a really aggressive pay-per-view before the most glorious pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't
Anyway, that's
know.
just booking decisions that WWE is doing weird.
Yeah, very very odd. But yeah, after that segment, we have a quick little snippet of Reigns backstage, and Paul tells him Edge is in the building.
And he
Um,
grins like a Cheshire cat.
yes,
Like,
yes. We get an interview backstage with Sami Zayn, and I was really kind of distracted and annoyed during the segment because if you notice his two camera guys, they just kept swaying the whole segment. I'm like, what? Why?
I mean, I hope it's visible when if we do not get a documentary footage release of this, I'm going to be annoyed because I want to see what they are recording.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
if they're actually recording and they're doing that to get like the super like indie film documentary
Yeah.
vibe off of it, I'm cool with it. But it just felt really awkward with the camera sitting and they're both like they both were
Yeah.
swaying and I'm like,
And so, yeah, I hope it is that when we get to see this documentary, it's because it's indie footage going to look like a found footage film sort of thing, which
yes.
is
And
which is
I'm cool with
fine.
it then and it will make sense, but it just felt really awkward to have them right in
Yeah.
view and
And if we don't get a documentary released,
oh, I'm going to be
what was the
so
point of
pissed.
this?
I'm going to be
Like,
so pissed. Um yeah, and then we have a tag team match, Otis and Chad Gable against the tag team champs, SmackDown tag team champs, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Roode and Ziggler now have new music from the sounds of it.
and it's a mashup of their music, and it's actually really cool, and
Yeah,
it
it's
makes me
not bad.
excited. And it's excited for the wrong reasons because I'm excited for when they break up for Rude to go back to being glorious.
I love that so much.
So,
Uh,
and it'll be exactly like what Shinsuke's doing. So he'll be able to go back to that gimmick without an actual issue of like, oh, well, was there really a change initially? Yes, there is now.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, and we had the Street Profits on commentary backstage.
This bothered me.
It was
This
like
just,
the most annoying thing that I've ever listened to.
I couldn't even follow what was going on in the match because of it.
Like they just kept yelling and yelling and yelling about this and that, and then come on, come on, Gable, you got this. Come on, Gable. Come on, Gable. Come on, Gable, you got this. I'm like, what? Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and then you would kind of hear like Cole and Graves talking and being, or Cole and Graves, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great.
yeah,
Graves pipes up at one point and he goes, "These guys are trying to like steal my job."
yeah, and you can hear them like saying like, "Oh, this is kind of weird. Like, what is this?" Like,
Yeah,
I swear I heard them say that. I'm like, what? So did they not know that was gonna happen,
it
or
felt really awkward, and I
because
didn't
I
enjoy
didn't
it.
know it was gonna happen.
But Rude and Ziggler pick up the win, uh, taking out
Really
Otis
quickly,
off the apron and then pinning Gable. Um,
yeah.
and then we get, for some reason, Hulk Hogan talking about his match with Andre 33 years ago, the most watched apparently wrestling match of all time, 33 million people.
Because it was on main event, like,
Yeah,
and my when they initially talked about this, I thought they were talking about the slam.
yeah, because I'm like, WrestleMania was never in February from my knowledge, and then they were like
Yeah,
on main event, and I'm like, oh, so
and
you're talking
yeah,
the other Hogan and Andre match.
the
Got it.
one the one that wasn't as good, the one where DiBiase buys the match,
Yeah,
basically. Like,
but
I
it,
mean,
it I don't know.
this was the one where I was talking about where we got a return, and he basically just backs Edge to win whatever belt he goes for.
Yeah, and that wasn't even the full thing he taped, by the way. They released the full thing on YouTube, of him talking about it. It's like 4 minutes. I watched it. It's
I'm not
bad.
surprised. They
Um,
probably got the gist of it and went, all right, we're gonna cut it down to 30 seconds.
yeah, we're good. We're good. Thanks, Hulk. Um,
And
and
Jimmy
then
Hart was just standing back there like,
he always does. I freaking, oh my god. I don't have much good to
no, that
say
was just,
there.
I just had to point that out.
Yeah, he always stands there with a shit eating grin. I just kind of want to slap him some days.
Yeah.
Um, which would explain a lot about back in the 90s.
Well, and that was like my favorite thing to do in the SmackDown versus Raw like 2008. Like you get to fight him as John Cena,
Okay.
if you remember that.
Mildly, but
Cena had the bright orange like thing on, I can't like jersey on,
yeah,
and he was fighting all these legends. And
okay.
Jimmy Hart was one of them. It was funny.
And then we go into the triple threat intercontinental title match. We have
Which is the main event.
yes, technically the main event, match wise. Apollo Crews, champion Big E, and Sami Zayn. I don't like how Big E came out second. He's the champ. The
Yeah,
champ comes out last. So
it was really weird because in a triple threat match, to have the champion come out in the middle is like, why? Like, if you want the champion to come out first, they'll specify the champion requested to come out first. That's fine.
that's like
Why?
it. Most of the time, whenever Undertaker was in a title match, the champ would come out first. One of the rare occasions that Taker came out first was him and Edge Mania 24, and it's because
Yeah.
Taker had requested he wanted to go out first.
Yeah.
So, like, it just, yeah, I don't know. I found it weird. And then just before the match starts, we have Edge and Shinsuke Nakamura kind of talking backstage. No audio, but just them chatting it up.
Well, it's like the audio's kind of muted. You can hear them like, sure, sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure,
but you
sure, sure.
cannot make out a thing they're saying.
Yeah.
Um,
Like,
but we get a really solid triple threat match.
yeah.
I mean, three really good competitors.
And it didn't
Uh,
have a stupid ending where I was just like, what happened? Like,
I
it
was sitting there
actually got a
waiting the
decent finish.
whole match. The whole match.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the finish? Where's the finish at? And
When's the other foot gonna drop its WWE, right?
yeah, and Biggie picked up a really nice, basically
Yeah.
clean win.
And Apollo looked pretty strong too.
Like they all looked
Like,
good coming out of it.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, Sammy still kind of came out looking in a way that he'll be able to bitch about in his documentary, which is good.
but that's what I mean. They all came out of it
Exactly.
looking good. Just like it doesn't necessarily mean Sammy looked like the top guy, but it
I thought you
works
meant
for
like
what
he
he's
was
doing.
strong. I thought you
Oh
meant he looked
no,
strong
no,
because
no, no,
yeah,
no. They all came out looking good for their own particular
yeah,
set that they needed to. Um, but yeah, Big E picking up the win, and then we go into the close of the show. Edge
yeah.
comes out. Um,
First this time. Oh,
yeah,
actually, but one thing I wanted to say, we got 2 promos for Seth Rollins, and they were the exact same. The just before this, we got the
that's
second one.
yes, yeah. Announcing he's returning
So
next week. I felt like that
yeah,
was really odd. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, Edge comes out and oh, excuse me. Take over for a second.
Yeah, so Edge is
Burping.
here and he comes out and he's talking about like how when he was in rehab he would dream about coming back and taking back that title he never lost by winning the Royal Rumble and all that. And basically he runs through his options of the championships and includes Finn Balor in this one, which is really
Yes,
nice.
yes, I was
Um
very happy.
like and then he tells like says like I've been asking like my family, who should I pick, and they give me a different answer. And I ask my friends, who should I pick, and they give me a different answer. I asked John on the street, he's a real nice guy, and he gives me a different answer. Like he's really just putting it on that he has no idea what his decision is, because
Yeah.
he just wants the world title and he's got 3 options for it, and he's acknowledging 3 options for it,
Yep.
which is really cool. Because if you remember back to say when Taker won it, Edge was one of the options. Edge was the option for Taker, and the 3 options were the ECW title, the WWE title, and the world title.
Yepper.
Like, it's the same exact story. Put ECW as the same as what NXT should be now.
Yep.
Like,
And NXT is better than what WWE's version of ECW ever was. So,
exactly.
not really a that controversial of a comment, uh
No, exactly.
but Roman Reigns comes out uh and really just kind of keeps egging him on to make the decision, pick him. Um
And then Edge, he just goes, "Yeah, but you came out here with 2 people." And then Roman's like, "Yeah, I promise you that without my explicit request, Paul will not touch you."
yeah, I'm like, really? Really? Come on. Uh and he ends up sending both Paul
I
and
think just
Jay.
Jay. I think just Jay,
I
because
he
Paul ends up staying there.
I believe he sent Paul out of the ring at one point.
Maybe, but I think Paul stayed in ringside at the very
Oh, more
least.
than likely, but it's still
Jay
worth
went back to the
mentioning.
bus.
Uh, and then before anything happens, suddenly here's Kevin Owens hitting the stunner on Reigns and walking out, and Edge just kind of standing there smirking, like, okay.
And I mean, maybe this was 2 Canadian boys making a little joke out of Roman, but I hope that next week or maybe even on Raw, say Edge comes over to Raw tomorrow or Monday, sorry, and talks to Drew. Roman's music hits, and he comes out and he's like, "No, you're picking me."
Yeah. Well, the thing is we haven't
Like,
seen this quarterly brand invitation on Raw yet. We saw it on SmackDown, and that was it. We haven't seen it on Raw, so.
I think AJ made it up.
Well, AJ and a bunch more of them.
AJ went to a bunch of people and went, "All right, follow me. I got an
Everybody
idea.
hop in
Hey, it
the
worked,
car.
guys."
Let's go. um, but yeah, Owens hits the stunner on Reigns, walks out, and the show ends with no decision again.
Yeah, which we knew we weren't gonna get Edge's decision, which
Yeah,
is fine. Like,
yeah.
when Roman says you're gonna give me the decision, I'm like, well, no, he's
No,
not.
he's not. We've got a long
Like,
time.
we
Uh,
don't know what Edge is doing. Like,
exactly. So with going over the results there, what'd you rate it out of 5?
I gave it a 2.75. I initially gave it a 3, but I was like, "Ah, 3 feels a little too high."
Uh, that's fair. I gave it a 2.25. I really was bummed out by most of it.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into our high points and low points here in a second. But the show as a whole just kind of didn't hit me how I wanted it to. Um,
Yeah.
as for our Twitter poll, 53.8% thought it was a good show. 15.4 figured it was a waste of time, and 30.8% are sitting on the fence with it. So it was really a mixed show.
Yeah, it
Looking at
was,
it, like,
and
obviously, like, the majority said it was a good show, but you take those other two numbers and we're only a matter of a few percent off from being, almost half and half, as for, like, either not enjoying it or not being sure versus actually enjoying it. Like, it's
for sure, and I mean, some people might just like SmackDown because it's SmackDown, right? Like, some people do just enjoy things because it's that, but I used to enjoy Raw because it was Raw. I can't anymore. Like,
yeah.
I just
See, I the past few years have enjoyed SmackDown more than I have Raw, because SmackDown actually felt like the place you would go for the. It's similar to how Edge said with NXT, where NXT puts that second W in WWE. Um, SmackDown really held that for a long time. Solid storylines, a lot of
yeah,
wrestling. It felt really good,
the house
and
that AJ Styles built.
like that was some of the best
It
pro
was.
wrestling at the time. And
Yeah.
now it doesn't really feel like it. Like Raw's not fantastic, but I would rather watch Raw over SmackDown again.
Yeah, all
Um,
honesty, like, I would rather sit down, watch the 3 hours Raw versus the 2 hours SmackDown, mainly because I know SmackDown is gonna be the Roman show. At least twice an hour we saw Roman.
yeah, it wasn't a blast.
Like, and that's been at besides last week, which was probably the reason SmackDown was pretty good last week, we had always seen Roman every hour, if not every half hour.
Yeah,
Like,
it was rough. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, match of the night. What'd you give?
The Intercontinental title
Same,
match
same.
was a really good match, and I don't think there's really any reason to justify it. It's 3 great wrestlers going out and having a great title match.
Yeah, top to bottom. It was the most solid match on the show. It's one of those ones where I totally would have liked it to have more time.
Mhm.
Just to see what else they could have pulled out, but obviously we knew that there was still an end to the show that we had to finish up with. So
I
with the
wish
time
that
they
they
were
would have
given, it was
flipped the
solid.
2 of them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Agreed there. Um,
Something AEW would never do is segment after a title match on the as the main event. Like, they might do a segment as the final thing, but they would never do title match then segment to finish the show.
and it
Like,
has to, like, the thing is, even if they were to do it, because we can't say they won't.
no, but they've
um,
never is why
but the
I'm
thing
saying that.
is when they do it, it makes sense and it makes it feel really
Yeah.
good. Similar to just really quickly here, Mox and Jericho's weigh-in right before Revolution. They had
Yeah.
a really, really solid main event that they could have finished the show with, but then they gave us something, and it was right before a
Yeah.
pay-per-view. It made complete sense.
Exactly.
This, we've got so long until Mania that we didn't need it as the final segment after a really good Intercontinental title match.
Exactly. That's what I was meaning. Like, after something that is deemed prominent, like a title match, because I feel like, because when I remember that weigh-in, I feel like the match before it, not that it wasn't anything, it was a good match, but it didn't have any weight as in, like, it wasn't a number one contender match. It wasn't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, see, I
From
don't
what I
remember what
remember,
what exactly it was, but
I know it was a pretty good match, and that it really did deflate the ending, but
yeah.
um,
And I mean,
still,
the
like,
thing is, you've got to
exactly.
figure, coming off of one of their biggest pay-per-views of the year being Royal Rumble, like, you got to remember, like, this is the first SmackDown after the Rumble. like it was such a flat SmackDown for something like
Yeah,
that.
Raw did really good, the Raw after Rumble. Like, we got a I wish we would have actually honestly got a bit of Belair on Raw just to kinda make it seem
Yeah.
like her choice isn't gonna be
Yeah,
SmackDown.
it kind of killed the momentum I felt for the for Belair winning, having her only show up on SmackDown.
Yeah,
And Edge
but
appeared on all three. Like what?
yeah, Edge appeared on all 3, Belair wouldn't even acknowledge, Io Shirai, like, which is
Just
something Edge wanted Reigns to do, or Reigns
exactly.
wanted Edge to do, sorry.
So yeah, moving on here. Segment of the night. What'd you give?
I gave it to Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, like,
Same.
their match.
Same. Uh, I thought it was because I mean they weren't given a whole lot of time, and I mean the IC title match really did shine for match of the night, but I mean two fantastic technical wrestlers just really
Yeah,
showing off their ability, um, in the ring. Uh, I also partially want to give it to the opening segment just due to like I said, if they go the right way with it,
yeah,
um, I think it will really work with Reigns losing a little bit in that. I actually didn't hate it. Like I said, I would have preferred if it was all kind of together and it all just kind of flowed better. But I'm excited to
yeah,
see where they might go with this. Which is why I'm giving it partial segment of the night. Just looking down the line, looking forward to what we could get.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Performer of the night. What'd you give?
I gave it to Big E.
Fair.
I really like. I mean, he had a really good showing in his title match. Once I saw the side plates, because the fact that he didn't have them leading up until Rumble
Yeah.
to me was like, okay, he's losing this belt really soon. And then during this triple threat match, I was like, oh, he's going to lose it here. And I bet there's not going to be title plates. Belt goes up. We got big ass logo, whatever. I couldn't read it, but it was a big logo of Big E on his side plates. And I was like,
Yeah.
nice. He is keeping this belt.
Yeah.
And he had a strong showing through the whole match. As much as like Apollo and Zayn had their moments, there was not really a single spot where something happened and E wasn't really involved.
Oh, exactly.
And that's a
Um.
testament really to him because he is just that kind of performer where he likes to be involved in every single spot. And I want him with the world title before
Oh yeah.
2021 is done.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'd love. We talked about it on the last one. I'd love a Biggie title reign.
Yeah.
Um.
Like, yeah, this Intercontinental one's great, but we need the mid card one before the world one. We get it.
Yeah. Uh.
Like,
I gave my performer of the night to Cesaro. I've just been repeatedly impressed, which I mean shouldn't be a surprise as we were talking about beforehand. But I'm happy we're actually getting some more Cesaro stuff again, and the way they gave him the win over somebody like Daniel Bryan, I'm giving it to him because I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do with him going forward if he does end up signing a new deal.
well,
Um,
it feels like when he debuted with Oksana, I want to say it was. Um, and she was he was her boyfriend, and just came to beat somebody for the U.S. title. I believe maybe it was Del Rio. Um,
I
but
don't remember him being paired up with her.
it was a girl. I can't remember who the girl was. I wanted to say it was Oksana, but
Yeah, because
Antonio Cesaro.
I'm not completely made his debut. Yeah, he was with Oksana and Theodore Long. Uh
Teddy.
in May it was revealed that they were lovers. Okay, well, yeah, 2012. I mean, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone 2012.
Well,
Um
yeah, exact. I vaguely remembered it feeling like a weird pairing.
yeah,
But I know that with the when he had the US title, it was a girl dressed in all black, and the only girl I could remember at that point was Oksana.
I always forget about Oksana.
I do too. There's probably a reason for that.
Very fair. So speaking of Oksana, worst of the night, uh, There's a segment for you, or segue for you.
I
Uh,
mean, it's fitting because of what my worst of the night is, but
well, what'd you give it to?
I gave it to the women's title segment, but
Yep.
not solely because of Belair, because I know that's what people might think based on my opinions the last few weeks.
Oh, I gave it to it as a whole. The whole thing sucked. It didn't fall just completely on Bel Air.
No,
I
I'll
gave it
admit the
to it.
finish kind of really sucked with just the hair whip and then it ended, but I'm always gonna hate that, and I just have to accept that that's a thing is gonna happen in her segments,
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
yeah. I gave it to that as well as the Hogan bit. I just like
The
I
women's title just felt so much more messy than and more important than Hogan's bit to be able to call it my worst.
well, that's why I'm giving it mainly to the women's, but I gotta say Hogan's because I mean we really didn't get much from it, and it just took up time that could have been put towards something like
Yeah.
Cesaro Bryan or the triple threat. Like, what was the big? Is it because it was 33 years ago and 33 million watt? Like, I
Well,
just,
yeah. I mean,
I
it
if
seems like WWE is doing this thing with their history thing, like, on this day in history, and if they're gonna keep doing it, fine,
but that
but this first one is weird.
that's just it. I'm like, it felt like it was so out of the blue. Like we've had like how much history we could be recapping, and this was the first one you give us, and like I
Yeah.
if they
Like,
keep
next week, if
going,
we get Bret Hart or somebody, like, just some Ri like, Ric Flair even, somebody, just
yeah, like if we keep getting this, I won't hate it as much. But I'm
hell,
like
they
for a
don't even have to be
SmackDown,
alive. It could be a Dusty segment where we just like, "Hey, on this day in history, Dusty Rhodes won the NWA title."
yeah, like
Like,
something. Um so if they keep going, sure. But for this SmackDown, which already felt like it fell flat and stuff like that, I was like, what a waste of 3 minutes. Like
yeah, it really
not to
was. It
put
didn't
down because
yeah.
I mean the Hogan Andre stuff from back then, sure, it's fantastic stuff. You got the network, go and watch it.
Yeah,
But there's no reason we need to take up time from guys today talking about something from 33 years ago on a
exactly.
show that should have already been bigger than it was.
Right, like, as well as when we're trying to cram 2 hours of SmackDown into what it is, like, we have so much to do on SmackDown as it is, that doing what they did just made that the segment of Hogan feeling rushed, and like you said, it got cut down too.
Yeah, from
Like
what they actually posted the full segment to be on YouTube, they we got like 20 seconds of Hogan, and it was like actually like a 3-4 minute promo from Hogan. Like,
yeah, and it's fine, like, I love that we now know that on, February 5th, I can't remember the year, but
33 years ago, I'm not doing that right now in my head.
no, they Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant had their screw job match with Ted DiBiase involved, like,
Yeah, and
that's really cool to
the
know.
twin refs and all that.
Yeah, like, it's really cool to know, but we didn't need it on 2 hours of SmackDown. Post about it on your social medias and give us a Hulk Hogan 4-minute video on social media.
Exactly, exactly. I would have had no issue if I came across it on their
It
Twitter
would've been
and
on our
it was,
news.
yeah, like came across it
Like
on Twitter. Hey, this happened. Oh, awesome, that's neat. But and like the worst part is they hyped it up 3-4 times through the night,
seeming like it was gonna be a bigger thing.
and it wasn't like that. Yeah, I
Never
just
is, it's Hogan, we should have known better.
yeah
They're
should
not
have.
gonna give him a live mic.
But
Ever.
yeah, with us finishing off SmackDown here, predictions moving forward. No pay-per-view this weekend.
It's gonna be a
So
weird weekend.
I am going to sit and probably pull up I just started the other night on the network, the best of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Um Absolutely I mean, if you've never
I'm
seen their matches, it's worth the watch. That is the kind of stuff, if I ever have the chance to do the pro wrestling like I want to do, that is what I want to do at some point in my life is have a
for
series
sure.
of matches like those guys did.
Um something that I thought is pretty neat that I've found on Amazon Prime recently. They have done in 2020 a series of interviews and stuff on wrestlers. There's one on John Cena, it has Simon Miller in it, as well as a man named Adam Passy. Can't remember how they
Oh,
pronounce it.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's an in-depth look at John Cena's career. There's one for Sheik. I don't know if it's the same people, but for I saw for The Rock is the same one. They have a Cena and The Rock one, and it's the same two people.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
that's something that if people want to go take a look, if they have Amazon Prime, the Rock one is called Dwayne The Rock Johnson, No Pain, No Gain, and John Cena's is called John Cena, Champion of the Ring.
yep. As well with Amazon Prime. Wish I was being sponsored for this. Uh, Another good documentary if you're a Jake the Snake fan. The
Yes.
Resurrection of Jake the Snake Roberts, the DDP documentary that was done up. I watched it a few months ago. It is really good, really insightful into the struggles Jake went through. Yeah, I just watched the AJ Styles Royal Rumble Untold last night, which was really good. Like, no pay-per-view this weekend, but if you want wrestling content, there's literally a million
Yeah.
ways to watch wrestling.
Well, yeah, and I hope Amazon has more of those because those 2 came out in 2020, and if they do, like, a Batista one, a Rey
Oh yeah.
Mysterio one, like, I will watch them. I've yet to actually watch them, but just by the 2 names that are on it, it's really cool.
Yeah, so but yeah, anyways, predictions going forward. I guess the next one we can predict for is Raw. Kind of a
Maybe we'll see Belair finally on Raw to actually maybe put some tension on Asuka for a title picture
yeah,
at
maybe
Mania.
maybe the first week they were kind of giving it to Edge, so I wouldn't mind Belair showing up.
Or even
Um
Io Shirai showing up and interrupting them as well.
that'd
Like,
be cool.
having everything, like, happen on Raw, which might which will be fine because we don't need Belair to show up on NXT to push NXT as a legitimate thing. Have
Exactly.
Io be like, "Hey, you didn't mention me. I'm kinda mad about that." Like,
That wouldn't be a bad way to go about it, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah, obviously probably gonna get more development with the Lacey Evans Ric Flair stuff.
yeah.
Um uh
Probably more on Orton, Asuka, or Orton and Bliss, sorry.
yeah, yeah. Um it'll be interesting to see what we get from Edge. Um because I mean now he's kind of gone across the brands. Do we get another match? Do we just
I
have
think
him
Raw gives him another
talking?
match.
I
I
I wouldn't be surprised if his matches are just solely on Raw, cuz
I
I
think
mean,
that's the brand he's on. Or is
from
he a
my
free
knowledge he's
agent?
free agent.
Okay.
But the thing is we all know Vince views Raw as the main show. It's why it's the 3-hour show. It's why it.
Yeah. Well, the only reason Edge was on SmackDown was because Cena was on Raw. Like, way
Yeah.
back when.
Well,
Like,
put it back then and we had legitimate competition. We had legitimate good shows. Nowadays,
for sure, but, like, if you wanted to be specific why Edge wasn't on the number 1 show, that's probably a good reason.
yeah. Well, it's not to say that SmackDown's just a throwaway guys. I mean, we know how high Vince is with Reigns, and Reigns is on SmackDown.
That's
Um,
probably mainly because of the Fox deal.
well, more than likely, but it's just if you're gonna have big things happen, especially with someone like Edge, you're putting it on your Monday night show. It's the thing
To
that they
put it like
do.
MVP, big things popping, little things stopping.
Yeah, and with that being said, make a good point there.
I mean, I want him to start saying that stuff too, like bring back his old catchphrase and stuff like that.
Oh, I would
That'd be
love
kind of
him
neat.
too.
Like,
Yeah,
have him fight the Fiend and just forget that the Hurt Business is a thing, and just come out in the tunnel just ballin'.
everybody be like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, I have dreams, but they'll never happen.
Oh, don't say never. Never say never with pro wrestling.
Never give me booking power is all I say, because I will throw it at Legends and I'll be like, just do your old gimmick like when I was a kid, please.
That's fair. That's fair. But I don't have any more predictions. You got any more to add?
I think we will see Belair decide this week.
Belair's decision, yes. Edge's no.
No,
Edge's, I give it
Edges
quite a
will be
while.
after whenever the next few pay-per-view. Like, he won't be at least till the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be after, well, Chamber now that we know.
Yeah.
Um,
I would still even push it to even after Fastlane to be whoever he wants to fight. Like, it gets announced pretty much the show before Fastlane sort of thing.
I don't think they wait that long because I think for something like that, they want enough build. And if they just keep going back and forth, who am I going to face? It's not going to build enough towards one particular storyline.
Maybe,
And
yeah.
I mean, we're building towards WrestleMania. If it was SummerSlam or something, sure. WrestleMania, I'd like a little more than 2-3 weeks notice on it. Like, I'd like, especially for what this Mania is gonna be, because we know they're gonna put out so much for this Mania being the first Mania with fans back in a year, stuff like that. Um,
I just hope WWE does not get in so much shit for a potential spike that might happen.
well,
Like,
if they play it right, I mean, Dynamite. I don't think there's been a single fan case to come out
no.
of Dynamites because they've been so meticulous about it.
Yeah.
So let's just hope with
But it's Vinnie Mac.
WrestleMania. Yeah, it's hard to say. So
He wants that big paycheck, and we know it's going to be in the Buck Stadium, so we know what kind of capacity that can be because it's not the newer stadium where it's like, well, it could be this, but it could also be this. Um, like this is a stadium where we know it. They had a rough ticket sales for what it was last year because they had to return the things.
yeah,
So they know what that was like. They know what the
exactly.
they're probably aiming for half, if not more than half, attendance.
Well, I know the last figures I saw was 25,000 a night. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Vince wants to push it to 50,000 a night.
yeah, but it's all going to be a matter of what the state lets him do. It's not a
Right.
matter of
That's
what
what I
Vince
mean.
wants to do, right?
That's what I mean. Like I
Um,
think I think depending on what Florida does, and Florida I think is one of the more laxed ones as
uh-huh.
far as what they're allowing. I don't even think masks are mandated in Florida.
Yeah, I have no clue there. I know any down there. I know any like government property or federal property or whatnot. They're required.
But that's just due to Biden
Yeah,
because of his initial decree. But I don't think anywhere else, like as in
yeah,
public property, I don't think it's required anywhere else.
yeah. I don't believe so. But I mean, I think they'd be stupid to try and go lax on any of that. I mean, the thing
Oh no, I'm
is
not saying
how much
WWE should be lax, but
bullshit
I'm yeah.
like how much shit they're gonna get in if there is a spike. I mean,
Well, it won't take long to know if there's a spike there because people will be coming from other states to Florida for
oh,
Mania, whether they like
exactly.
it or not. I bet there will be people coming from Canada if they can figure it out.
Oh, I bet you there will be people that somehow get their way into the states, do their quarantine period, and then attend Mania. I guarantee it.
Like, as much as I hate to say it, I bet they'd get like a fake work visa of some kind to come in. Like,
Oh,
as
I
much as
I
I
bet
hate to
you.
say it,
Oh yeah, I bet you there's a whole bunch of bullshit going on.
yeah.
Come WrestleMania time, but that'll be a wait and see scenario. So,
Hopefully, it goes off without a hitch and WWE doesn't get in trouble for anything because I don't want WWE to lose money as much as I might not like what their booking decisions have been. They are still the childhood,
oh,
like,
100.
my what I don't even know how to put it, like
My childhood was based around the
yeah.
WWE because at that time that's all I knew for pro wrestling. Like I watched the
Yeah.
older stuff, like I watched some WCW, some ECW, um
Companies existed, but
like
they were under WWE's branding at that point.
yeah, exactly. Like I WWE was my life uh until I found even when I found stuff like TNA, WWE
Yeah.
was still my life. I would
Well,
watch
yeah, if they
TNA
ran
once a week.
Yeah.
WWE encapsulated the rest of my week.
Yeah, and I mean, if, TNA was dumb enough to pay-per-view against WWE,
I
I
watched
went and watched what am I
WWE.
doing?
Yeah, WrestleMania.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you talk. I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah, no, I can remember, I believe, a handful of pay-per-views where they went head to head, and it was never a question. I was watching the WWE pay-per-view.
I think maybe with Jeff coming to TNA, I watched one pay-per-view over WWE, and that was just because I wanted to know what Jeff was doing. And that's because I was annoyed at WWE for letting him get fired. It was as a kid, I didn't know what kayfabe was, right? So letting him
Exactly.
get fired by CM Punk,
Yeah.
like,
Well, yeah, like I always watch the TNA stuff like the next day, but um
yeah, no, exactly. I'd watch it, but if I had the choice of which one I was watching live, I was watching WWE.
oh, exactly. Exactly. But yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think I got anything else to add. You?
Oh no, I think we covered it all more so than we probably even planned to.
Exactly. So yeah, with that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in, whether you listened live with all of our technical difficulties
Yeah, we
or
apologize for that.
yeah, we'll get that straightened out before the next stream. Or if you are
Hopefully it wasn't
listening,
us.
yeah, hopefully it's not us. Um, but or if you're listening on a podcasting platform and whatnot, we appreciate your time. Next stream, if I'm not mistaken, should be Tuesday, covering Raw
Yep.
and the news from this weekend. Um,
Yeah, we'll get a big bulk of 3 days of news instead of just 2.
yep.
As much as that doesn't sound like a big bulk, it's gonna
It's
be.
more. It's more than normal.
Yeah.
Um, so but yeah, with that being said, thank you for listening. If you want to find anything walking the ropes, go give our link tree a look. Follow us on Twitch to get notified when we go live. Follow our Twitter to participate in polls, as well as we post when we're going live on there. And you can listen to us on almost all major podcasting platforms at this point, including Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and so many more. So give those a look. Walking the Ropes with Blake and Kaleb. Um, and yeah, I think that covers
Yeah.
just about it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so. Thank you everybody for watching us, like, we are listening, whatever you are doing, we
uh,
appreciate you being here.
yeah, and as Blake normally says here, especially with us mentioning a heavy weekend and whatnot, potentially for
Yep.
news. If you catch anything that we miss, tweet it our way and whatnot. There's a good chance we are going to miss some stuff from this weekend if there's a lot of news. So tweet it our way to make sure we cover it on the podcast.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I was still reading my SmackDown stuff, so
Well, that's
I
just it. You hadn't mentioned it
apologize.
yet, so I'm like, we got a few days here of news. Better mention that. So
Yeah, no, my brain just went, "No, we're done. We're good."
but yeah, with that being said, we will see y'all Tuesday. Tuesday, if I got that
Tuesday at
right.
1 PM.
Yep.
Yeah, unless you see a tweet about it, but we should be at 1 PM.
It's usually 1 p.m., but that's why we say follow the Twitter just in case. Just in
Yeah,
case. Um
exactly.
but yeah, so we will see you then. Take
Yeah, thank
care.
you, everybody.